Firstly, I would just like to provide a brief overview of what the Rugby World Cup is, as well as our environmental sustainability plan. The Rugby World Cup is a prestigious international rugby tournament held every 4 years, showcasing the highest level of rugby union competition on a global scale. Teams from various countries compete in a series of matches to determine the world champion. It is known for its passionate fan base, intense physicality, and the celebration of the sport of rugby at its highest level. The enthusiastic fan base and massive celebration of the sport drives our major goal of establishing sustainability into the renowned event, especially for the event's future continuation. To further develop our sustainability goals, we as a team have validated our sustainability strategies on the social ecological model. We have then determined that by breaking down the many components of how we could do this and how we would execute this into a sustainability strategy. Understanding the social ecological model has been at the forefront of our plan. However, we will go through this further as the presentation continues of how we have incorporated the social ecological model into our plan. We, as a team, have created a statement which best reflects the purpose of our social program proposal. That statement is we want fans who attend the Rugby World Cup in France to see reducing carbon footprint at a consumer level as being a favourable behaviour at these events. We want our social marketing program to be more beneficial than past efforts in consumer behaviour changes at these events. The main aim and purpose of this program is to establish a sustainable connection between the Rugby World Cup and the existing environment, with realistic and achievable goals which can benefit sustainable changes from such events. In order to achieve this, we have broken down the different areas of the social ecological model and seen how different environmental impacts can be broken down on either level. Furthering on this point, we have established a number of sustainable goals and have set out how we can achieve these goals and an overarching goal of creating a more sustainable future for the Rugby World Cup, which ultimately goes back to our proposal statement. The relevance of our model is that it recommends many methods of carrying out ecological friendly actions that may last for an extended period of time. It basically promotes economic expansion while protecting the environment. As a group, we have developed four tactics that we believe might be easily adopted for the levels of the social ecological model. On both a micro and macro level, we have included the removal of single use plastic bottles, the use of environmentally friendly cutlery, or the removal of cutlery altogether, and the reduction of plastic packaging, which is used by suppliers and vendors at the event. On an exo and macro level, we will promote these environmental initiatives on a higher scale through social media marketing, billboards, and other social marketing techniques. We believe that we will achieve these tactics by encouraging customers to utilize multi-use water vessels while offering appropriate filling stations for customers to use, as well as encouraging vendors and suppliers to adopt ecologically friendly cutlery, such as bamboo, or the elimination of their single-use plastic, which clogs landfills and creates pollution. Strategically, we have come up with a six-step plan to achieve this goal. Step one is to set our SMART goals on the social ecological model, which we have gone through and will go through further throughout this presentation. Step two is then identifying our tasks, which we have gone through by identifying our tactics, informing the public to bring reusable water vessels, informing vendors and suppliers of single use plastic not being permitted, and organizing the supply and distribution of physical advertising materials. Our next step in our plan is to allocate correct resources. Our main focus for this one is on physical resources, so we are ensuring that there's enough space to build infrastructure needed for sustainable waste management that does not do more harm to the environment around it. We also will look at our capital resource allocation as well as our human resource allocation. Step 4 is then to prioritize our tasks and how we will achieve this in a more chronological way. We believe that enhancing the physical environment in alignment with effective waste management procedures is what our first priority should be. Following that, we will then allocate time to implement appropriate supply chain distributions, as well as having a waste management campaign. We will then look at educating and training for staff members to make sure that they do remove waste correctly and in an environmentally friendly way. Our step 5 is then to set milestones and deadlines. We want to look at having our waste management at the forefront of our decision making for this Rugby World Cup and every other Rugby World Cup. To achieve this, we will educate staff, vendors, and participants on how they can properly remove the waste. Step 6 is then to monitor and revise our plan on a chrono level. The Rugby World Cup has 48 matches across 51 days. The waste management plan should be revised and monitored after each game, and further strategies implemented based on the waste production following each match. If 4 months are allocated to setting up sustainable supply chain management, this will need to be monitored monthly to ensure progress is being made and changes are undertaken. I will now pass on to the rest of the team to further go through how we will achieve our goals and our proposal. Thank you.
The target segment event experience enhancers or volunteers falls under the microsystem of their social ecological model for the Rugby World Cup. These volunteers are aged 18 to 25, they're adventurous, tech savvy, and value memorable experiences. They're active on social media, including TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. They're open to change and motivated by creating memories, social connections, convenience, entertainment, and gaining experience for their resumes. Volunteers play a key role in the Rugby World Cup across all 10 cities. Volunteers can help push the following key messaging, aligning with the positioning statement. Using their access to social media and Jet Z language, they can push key messaging, adopting sustainable behaviours, and enhancing the overall event experience. Highlight the benefits of using environmentally friendly options such as mobile ticketing and in app services like scheduling and maps, which can be updated and used 24/7 online, versus having to keep hard copies safe and accessible. Through their outgoing personalities and willingness to share experiences online, this target segment can incidentally showcase the opportunity to meet like minded individuals and form new connections. This event experience enhances volunteers segment, seeks memorable experiences at the Rugby World Cup, and is open to enhancing their event experience through sustainable behaviours aligning with the program's goals. The following 6-step action plan is to be set in place for this target segment to help mitigate any barriers to volunteering and ensure all volunteers are well equipped to participate in the Rugby World Cup, with focus on the environmental sustainability initiatives of this social marketing program. Firstly, tasks need to be defined and the volunteer event purpose. Volunteers then need to be trained. The allocation of human and capital resources need to be applied for waste management and training. Tasks need to be prioritised and digital communications improved. Waste management deadlines and goals need to be set, and the monitor and revision of the plan via concept testing needs to involve daily surveys gauging volunteer satisfaction with support engagement and digital tools on a scale from very satisfied to dissatisfied. With a comprehensive action plan, we're not only engaging this target segment, but also working towards a more sustainable and memorable event for the wider audience of participants. Volunteers are the Rugby World Cup's frontline workers interacting with participants and setting the culture of the event. Utilising social, outgoing, and tech savvy volunteers in this target segment is a key way the Rugby World Cup can push their sustainability agenda and achieve the desired outcomes of this social marketing program.
Segmentation 2 is the Patagonia and Rugby World Cup partnership to facilitate future campaign waste management action, which works inside the exosystem of the social ecological model from Part 1. The target market for this intervention is Organisation Patagonia. We can break down the target market into geographic, being at the headquarters of Patagonia in California, demographic, where millennials represent 61% of Patagonia's workplace between the ages of 27 to 42, psychographic, which is Patagonia values the environment and has an ongoing commitment to encourage sustainable practices, and behavioral. The organization aims to provide ordinary people ways in which they can be sustainable. Barriers to adoption of this intervention can be listed on screen. The main objective of the intervention is a partnership with Patagonia, with the future aim of directly addressing waste management at the Rugby World Cup. The partnership will financially be able to facilitate a future social marketing campaign with Patagonia endorsing the initiative. Ultimately, the long-term social intervention after the initial Patagonia partnership involves putting small recyclable bins with a prototype created on screen that will be placed on the armchairs in the stadiums where the Rugby World Cup is hosted in the direct eyesight of audiences, attending these games with award incentives for rugby fans who put their rubbish in these bins. The intervention aims to initially conduct advertisements from the action plan step in Part 1 to inform the public, targets the early adopters and the early majority, who would most likely be those who are major rugby league fans. From this initial traction from the rugby sporting stars endorsing the action of using the bins by showing how to win by tagging online with a photo of the fan putting the rubbish in the bin. Prizes to be won aim to target the early adopters and the early majority, but also inevitably target the late majority and the laggards who go to these sporting games, who could potentially be families or children below the initial target marker who are then indirectly targeted by association. Therefore, from Part 1, the intervention aims to continue on a focus on the ecological model by creating a multi-level program involving the downstream, midstream, and upstream. A document analysis was conducted to analyze and understand the behavior of Patagonia as an organization. The perspectives drawn from these numerous articles and press releases communicate that Patagonia lives by its core values and daily operations in their business, as well as externally with environmental efforts in society. This provides important information for the proposed Patagonia and Rugby World Cup partnership and campaign. Ultimately, the Rugby World Cup needs to operate in line with Patagonia's values and provide ecological value to Patagonia in its social marketing intervention proposal. Further, when reviewing key Patagonia decision makers, they can be considered under skeptics. To influence this target audience, communication needs to be conducted to communicate the impact on environmental behavioral change with a clear emphasis and discussion around the cost/benefit proposition for Patagonia.
The target audience for this segmentation is World Rugby's Sustainability and Actions team on a macro level. The target behavior is to create a more sustainable global event. The demographic, the age is primarily millennials, the gender is diverse but predominantly a male industry, the income is anyone who works for or can afford tickets to the games. The geographic is France hosting cities Paris, Lyon, Marseille, and Nice, and the World Rugby HQ located in Dublin. The behaviour attempts to minimise use of plastics and waste in stadiums and in France during the World Cup, using the instrumental and classical conditioning theory by giving people monetary advantages by doing good. The social cognitive theory implemented will result in putting a ban on possible ways that people are polluting or not following the 5 Rs. Another way World Rugby could apply this theory is to actually ban stadiums from using plastic in any packaging. The psychographic is heavy beer drinkers, the average Joe, social media users, the environmentally unaware, and people who prefer convenience. World Rugby Sustainability and Actions team aim to minimise waste generation and promote recycling at all events and within their offices as part of the sustainability initiatives. In turn, this should effectively help their waste management goals. The best theory used to help this is the social cognitive theory. This highlights the significance of role models on social norms. Fans and employees are more likely to engage in waste reduction and recycling when they observe influential figures within the organisation actively participating in these behaviours. This can include rugby players, coaches, and key stakeholders serving as sustainability ambassadors. To effectively use this theory, World Rugby Sustainability and Actions team should get some of Rugby World Cup's best players in a social media campaign complying with the 5 Rs slogan. This makes people want to be like their favourite athlete and in turn are likely to have a positive impact on the environment. The behaviour change from this would be fans who have a good waste management practices can have a positive impact on the overall sustainability of all sporting events and venues. At the games, the reduce, reuse, refuse, replace, recycle will be applied while the Rugby World Cup is being held.